So you decided not to go to university and instead you did an apprenticeship and now you run your own business. Can you tell us a bit about why you decided to take this route instead of the more conventional route?
Yeah, of course. So when I was in sixth form doing my A levels, there was a lot of pressure from the school I was at to go to university. But it's not something that I wanted for myself. I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was in primary school, so I've always really struggled at school. And to me, university felt like an extension of that, of school, being in a classroom. And so it's not something I wanted to do at all. So I said to my mum, I don't want to go to university. And she said, that's absolutely fine as long as you do another sort of degree or further qualification. So she suggested apprenticeships because at the time she was a training provider for NHS healthcare apprenticeships. And so we went to loads of like apprenticeship fairs around the UK. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like you can work and earn money and they pay for your qualification all at the same time. You don't come out with any debt and like you get a great starting salary. My starting salary was 20K when I was 18 years old, and I was like, oh my God, this is so much
Your other
money.
friends are at university in debt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is amazing. So that's how I landed on doing an apprenticeship and picking that route.
Amazing. But why start a business? Why not stick with the sort of go and work for corporate? Why go out on your own and start a business?
This might sound a bit morbid, but I used to go into that office all the time and think, oh my God, I don't want to like almost like wake up when I'm 60 and think, oh my God, I've literally done nothing with my life other than go into this office every single day and work for someone else. Like it's just such a weird thought, and like to have not really accomplished anything, not to say, wow, I've done this with my life. And so I knew I wanted to leave, but I didn't really know what I wanted to go do. So I did my AAT qualifications, and at the time I was finishing up my last accounting exam. They were running a campaign called Be Your Own Boss. And I didn't realise with my qualifications that I could run my own accounting firm. And so through that campaign, I was like, wow, I could like do this and like be self-employed, because I've always wanted to be self-employed, but I've never been particularly great at anything. So it's like, don't even know what I'm doing. So I handed in my letter of resignation at my corporate job and I left with no plan, no business that I'd been building up from the side, just like left and was like, this is it. And I said to myself, if this doesn't work, that's fine. I'll go traveling and find myself, because I never took a gap year or anything like that. But if it does work, I'll have a business and that'd be pretty cool.
It worked out very well.
And here I am now, still running my business.
Well, let's go to the very first step you took to get your business off the ground. What was that? The first thing you did?
The first thing I did was actually make an Instagram profile with my company name, Hardy Accounting, on it, because I needed to like get myself out there. And I tried networking events, but they weren't like really for me. I was finding that I wasn't meeting my ideal client, which at the time was like young business owners. Because I was like, I'm a young person. I want to speak to other young people. Don't really want to be doing accountancy for the traditional companies like solicitors or lawyers. Like I really want to work with creatives. And so I was doing these networking events, not really getting anything out of them. And networking events take quite a lot out of you. It's a lot of like showing up as your best self. They can be expensive. You're going out like
Especially
four
as a
nights a
young
week.
person as well, and
Yeah,
it
it's
just you don't feel like you quite
crazy.
fit in almost.
There was a lot of, oh, is it your dad's company? Whose
Oh,
secretary
really?
are you? And I was like, oh, snooze fest,
No.
boring. So I stopped, and then I started posting on social media all about like tax tips and like explaining accounting in basic terms. And that's what did it for my business. And that's what we still do now. Posting on social media gets us
Amazing.
the most clients.
You talked to us about the first client. So how did you get that first client?
My first ever client was actually a referral through a family member. So they were all out for dinner and they were like, oh, my daughter really needs an accountant. And then my aunt was like, oh, well, my niece has just started her own accounting firm. So they put me in touch, and that was actually the first client that we ever got. The second client
Amazing.
was through social media. So we had a link in our bios, like cheeky Calendly link, and people were booking in through there. So we'd have these conversations. And at the beginning, I was like, oh, what even is a sales call? Like, what am I even trying to sell? Like, I don't really know. And then kind of just snowballed from there, really.
It's interesting you started with an Instagram, because I always feel like we'll have a load of older guests who will disagree with this, but like once I got an Instagram, I feel like I've launched a business. And once you got a name on Instagram, a few posts, how long did it take you to get a bit of traction on that Instagram?
Do you know what? I would probably say 3 months. So I started it in January, and then by March, and bearing in mind I was posting on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn pretty much every day. Kind of by the March, we had some traction in the sense that, like, I was being invited to speak at events because I was posting on LinkedIn and Instagram and TikTok, and like people were asking me how it's
Interesting.
like building this accounting firm through social media, which is like quite a new concept at the time. Um, and so yeah, about the March time.
I don't want to make this podcast about content strategy, but what was your strategy? Was it just like every day? Were you like documenting like the behind the scenes of building your business, or were you just doing sort of accounting tips, like actually trying to get clients that way?
Yeah, I kind of wish I'd done the whole like documenting building a business thing because I find those like content bits so interesting. But I don't come from a content background. I didn't post on social media. I didn't have a TikTok before my business. I was just posting pictures of me on holiday and that was it. So like every
Oh, right.
every
Okay.
year everyone would get like 3
Yeah.
pictures from me and then I wouldn't post again. Um and so it was a very new concept to me and I didn't like it. It was very uncomfortable. So I just stuck with what I knew, which was accounting. So it was just those accounting tips. And I started a bit about how I quit my corporate job and started my own business, which got
That's a
really
good
good
angle.
traction.
Yeah.
But I was just so timid and shy and didn't really know what I was doing and didn't know how to edit a video. So a lot of them at the beginning were just carousels rather than like talking head videos.
There's a lot of posts on social media. There's a lot of tax tips on social media. So what was it about yours that stood out, as in how you did things that allowed you to get that traction and them clients?
Just showing up as me. Like there's no
Okay.
jargon, everything is done in like a very basic way so people can understand so it like doesn't scare them off.
Yeah.
Um and always using things like call to actions at the end, like use the link in my bio to book in a call. But also doing a mixture of tax tips and then also sharing your journey because there's something like you have to see someone 7 times to like be able to trust them.
Yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
buy
So
from you then there at the end of
yeah,
the day.
exactly. And so by pumping out, I feel like a mixture of personal and business content that helps build a relationship. So now we get on calls with people and they feel like they already know me. Like
Yeah.
I've had it so
Yes.
many times
Yeah.
where they're like, oh, like, I love your jelly cats. And I'm like, you can't even see them. But you've watched so much of my content that you know, like, I love jelly cats.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
kind of just small things like that that you don't even think about that make a big difference.
There's that sort of personal touch to it that
Yeah,
draws
definitely.
people into you. Yeah. Nice.
On LinkedIn, how many followers do you have? I think it's about, I mean, last time I looked, it was like, is it 30,000?
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so what's the secret behind that? Is it just every single day? Is that the biggest thing that you've seen that
It's
creates
literally
progress?
every single day. I posted like a crazy hectic person on LinkedIn for 5 days a week, every single day for like a year. And it was like a lot of pressure. And only recently have I just like stopped that. I think from maybe October, I just stopped posting. Like I was just trying to grow the business. I wasn't as focused on the social media aspect. We actually stopped taking on clients from November and we've just opened back up again. Because it's all about like having sustainable growth. There's no point just onboarding people when you know you can't give them the quality of service that you want to. And so with LinkedIn, it's just about posting. And then I found what worked for me and what didn't. So on LinkedIn, posting anything with any sort of personality does really well because people are so used to generic posts. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm pleased to announce my promotion or my new job or my new role. But actually, if you post anything personal about your journey, your experience, it actually does so well.
Yeah.
Can you
No,
give us an
definitely.
example of a personal thing that you've posted that's done well?
Yeah, of course. So I had a TikTok go to the wrong side of the internet and it blew up there and it
What,
was
d-
not a great
What's the wrong
experience.
side?
what does
The
that
wrong
mean?
side, how to put this politely. It
Okay.
was a video where I'd seen someone do this trend before where it was like, oh, winning my award, but like humbling myself by like getting the tube home or whatever. And so I posted it because I'd won an award and
Oh,
did
yeah, I've
kind of the
seen this.
same
Yeah.
thing. And it was just a lot of creepy men, like really
Oh,
creepy
really?
men. And I had a
Really?
slit in my dress and they were all like talking about my body and being
No.
like, oh, I'll come pick you up. And just like really creepy things like that. So I just like went to the wrong side of the internet and all of the comments were a bit, oh. So
Yeah.
I posted about it on LinkedIn. I was like, literally, one thing I really dislike about being a young female accountant is obviously being objectified because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not a fun thing for anyone.
No.
And so I spoke about it, and I put some of the comments, like just made a post on LinkedIn and added in some of the comments that I thought were completely not okay. And it got a very mixed response on LinkedIn, but it kind of like went viral. And I thought
Okay.
LinkedIn is like a platform where people are like, yeah, that's really like disgusting, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But it was actually a lot of people going, well, be careful what you wish for. And
Oh,
maybe
really?
you shouldn't have worn that outfit and all of that kind of stuff. And it was all a bit bizarre. But obviously I post about my personal experience of having those comments as
Yeah.
like a young female in accounting.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting. But again, on the other side, I posted a lot about my apprenticeship journey, and those do really well as well. And I speak about my dyslexia a lot online, and all of those kind of personal things do really well.
Definitely. So talking about scaling now, so you got your first client. How do you get more clients? How do you get to the point where you are today? So obviously this is a podcast for the younger sort of entrepreneur. Explain how you grew essentially.
Yeah, so again, it was just pumping out so much content that you just are exhausted. And it's about putting the right things in place. So when I started, I didn't really know how to price any of my services. I didn't really know what my services were, and I didn't know who I was going after. So it's actually stripping all of that back, identifying who your ideal client is, like creating a little avatar. So I just drew a stick person and put their name and like their sector and their income and what they enjoyed and all these types of things, so that I could see where they kind of like hang out online to be able
Yeah,
to
sure.
identify them and get them as a client. And then obviously the next thing was pricing. The last thing you want to do is go into a sales call not knowing what services you're providing or at what price. Obviously, we have clients now where they're a bit niche and more complex, and we do need to go to the drawing board and figure out a good quote for them. But we offer like package retainers essentially for clients. So we know exactly which package they're going to slot into unless it's something really crazy. And so having those foundations set so you can go into calls with confidence.
Yeah.
And then also understanding like how to sell yourself and your business when you've just started is really difficult. I was like, hi, my name's Grace and I like started this business 2 weeks ago and I really would like some clients. Thank you. Um, and that's really difficult. So I was like, okay, what can I use? Oh, I can use all my past experience as an accountant in corporate to be able to like grow trust and credibility with people, and know what I'm talking about, and start with like small clients and then like work your way up. I don't want to bring on like as your
Okay.
first client like multi-million-pound turnover company
Yeah.
that are, like got, I don't know, 3 warehouses across the world. Like I wanted to start with sole traders and very small limited companies and then kind of keep growing from there. And
That's
I
a really
guess
good
what we
point. Yeah.
did is just stick with that, really refine our pricing, really understand that, post on social media. I, in my first year, said yes to absolutely every single call that someone asked for, every single event, every single online webinar. It wasn't about being paid to do those things. It was about exposure and getting myself out there. Um, Obviously now I have to say yes to less things just because I don't have the capacity for it. But I'm a big believer that because I said yes to everything in the beginning, no matter if it was worth my time or not, it got me in the right circles and speaking to the right
Yeah.
people and having the right
100%. Yeah.
exposure to then be invited for different things. Like there's so many like butterfly effects for different things that have like given me
Definitely.
so many
Yeah.
opportunities. So it's really just about exposure and just like volume. Like the more you put yourself out there, the more you get back.
So you mentioned events and social media. Were there any other sort of parts of your marketing and trying to get clients? Were you doing paid ads? Were you getting in sort of articles, things like that?
No, so we've never paid for paid ads.
Interesting.
We have never paid for any articles. We've had organic PR. And at the moment I have a PR agent who's brilliant and he finds like different opportunities for me, or we put press releases together. But at the beginning, a lot of brands who were doing PR releases would like me as a case study. And actually that gave me loads of exposure, PR exposure for free. I didn't have to pay for any of it. It's
Yeah.
brilliant. So we've never paid for any marketing. And will probably stay that way. It's just about the sheer amount of content that we were pumping out.
You said the right type of content. So how do you know what is the right type of content for your business? So for your business, what was the right type of content and what was content that wasn't the right type?
So for us, we have content pillars. So it's like business like advice, my journey as a business owner and my apprenticeship, And basically every single piece of content has to fit one of those or more. And the wrong type of content is stuff that doesn't fit into any of that, that just doesn't do well because there's no intention behind it. And you can post for the sake of posting and post a nice aesthetic video, but is it going to get you clients at the end of the day? Probably not. So if it's not
Yeah.
working towards
Okay.
your long-term goal, then it's probably not the right piece of content to put out. Like I've been through a breakup whilst running my business, and is it the right type of content to post me crying in my car having a mental breakdown that my heart is broken? Well, probably not, because it's not going to get me any clients. That's the wrong type of content to post.
Yeah.
And how do you decide them pillars? So the three pillars that you did mention, how did they come about?
So I said to myself, what do I want to be known for? Like, if this goes well and I'm turned from nobody into somebody, what would I want to be known for? Like, would someone go, oh my God, apprenticeships? Oh, yeah, Grace Hardy talks about apprenticeships. Like, what would I want to be known for? And for me, it was my journey as an apprentice, obviously accounting, and my journey as a business owner. And those were the things I wanted to be known for.
That what do I want to be known for? What does it fall under? That's what you do content on.
Yeah.
Moving on to the pricing. You said the right type of pricing. How do you know how to price yourself? So
Oh,
how
I
did you
spent
decide your pricing?
forever trying to figure it out. I actually started by stalking other accountancy firms online, figuring out what they were charging, and then
Yeah.
emulating the pricing in my pricing.
Yeah.
So it's actually a lot of copying and pasting from other accounting firms to understand what you should be charging. And actually, when I started creating a network of other accountants, they were really amazing in having those open conversations about pricing. Or I would message them going, got a client who wants XYZ, what should I be charging? And then they would let me know, and then that would be a base for another client that had a similar situation. But actually, I've had loads of like accountancy firm business owners be so lovely and be like, here is my pricing. And I've gone, stunning. That's now my
Great.
pricing
Yeah.
too.
I think that's really important because you can message someone even on LinkedIn, and a lot of people are very open just to giving you advice and helping you out.
Yeah,
And I
definitely.
feel
Yeah.
like a lot of young people are kind of scared to do that. But even with this podcast, I mean, Harry reached you, for example, we just sent a message.
Yeah.
And you
And
can just send a message to a lot of people and it works.
yeah, it does work. And I think asking for help is like one of the best things you can do. Like in any capacity. I was invited to a lunch. It was like the first thing I was ever invited to with loads of accountants. And there were people there that were role models for me in my industry. And I just like was like, oh hi, like I'm Grace. It's really nice to meet you. And they're like, I know, I've seen you on TikTok. And I was like, oh my God, stop. That's so nice. And now they're like, anything you need,
Same.
just like let
Yeah.
me know. And so I message them all the time. They probably really regret saying that to me. But I'll message them being like, oh, I've got this situation with a client, or a client said this, I don't know how to handle it. And they always reply and give me a solution to the problem.
And I guess the selling yourself part also probably feeds into that. So when you talked about selling yourself, what's a good way of selling yourself and what's like a bad way of selling yourself? So you mentioned the call and how you started it off, but is there anything else that you could say?
I don't think there's any bad way of selling yourself. I think everyone's approach is unique and different, and that's what makes you you. I think a good way is obviously to come prepared to the call. So we've spent a lot of
Okay.
time like messing with the Calendly link, and now everyone has to put their email, their phone number, their turnover, and what they're looking to get out of the call. And so that allows us to be prepared for the call. So now we can, when I can't see it come into my calendar, I can have a look, see what type of business they are, how many employees they have, and like what they're looking for. So I can come prepared rather than being like, hey, where do you want to start with this situation? At least I have some background. And I think it's actually coming into those calls with confidence is really important. And just knowing your value. So if we have a client, for example, that I don't know, for argument's sake, is a social media agency, we'll let them know that we have a number of social media agencies, so we know exactly how your business operates. So we've got experience in that sector, and then that gives them trust in our capabilities. Because it's like, I don't know, for argument's sake, if it was a dentist, we don't currently look after any dentists, so I couldn't be like, we know exactly what we're doing. But as soon as you get more clients, you're able to show that trust and credibility through work that you've already done.
Yeah, really good points. Let's move on to some of the challenges that you've faced. So what have they been? Why you've been building this business? What challenges have you frequently come across?
There are challenges every day. I'm like getting to the point where I believe being a business owner is just putting out different fires every single day. There's always something. Obviously, at the beginning, the challenge was getting clients. Now it's, are we hiring the right people? Do we need to hire more? Are we taking on the right kind of client? There's just so many. Just don't even know where to start.
You are right. You have
Let's
got to kind of view it as part of the process and kind of almost learn to enjoy the challenges. Like I'm building a business. This is just what I've got to do.
Yeah, exactly. But there's always something. There's always something going wrong somewhere.
let's talk about hiring people, because that's something. I ran a football club for 2 years, and hiring people was probably the hardest part of the whole thing. What's your hiring process look like? How do you hire people? And how do you know that someone that you're hiring is going to be good?
You never know if your hiring is going to be good.
That's the main issue.
Yeah. I think, well, again, I texted another accountancy firm owner. I said, what's your hiring process? And do you have any like offer letters or contracts I can take and edit and then make into mine? Because I don't really know where to begin. He was like, yeah, here it all is. And I was like, thank you. And then I was trying to think back to my recruitment process when I was going into corporate. And actually, it was very like, there was like 8 stages and it was all a bit intense, to be honest with you. And I thought, well, at the beginning, it was just me doing recruitment and I didn't have like loads of time. So our recruitment process ended up being the post would go out on LinkedIn and Instagram saying that we were hiring. They would have to fill out a Google form and upload their CV. Then I would go through all of the CVs and pick out like maybe 5 to 10 that I thought would be a really good fit, just based on like experience and qualifications. And then I had a 15-minute just phone call with everyone. And I called it a vibe check, just to see like if we got on and like just to
Yeah.
see their vibe. Do you know what I mean? And just have a chit chat
Yeah.
with them. Hey, what are you looking for? Why have you applied for the role? Oh, great. What's your experience so far? And it was like more of a relaxed thing. So I think sometimes when you go into interview, you just want to like literally put your best self forward. But then as an employer, you don't get your proper authentic self from the people that you're interviewing. So we did these vibe checks, and then from the vibe checks, we gave maybe 3 to 5 people final interviews with me for half an hour, and then we picked from there. And that's basically what we've done now for every single hiring role.
I imagine you must have been interviewing people who are quite a bit older than you for the roles as well. Was that the case?
Yeah.
How did that feel? Obviously, being a young person, how old were you at this stage?
Oh, so it was last year. So I think I started hiring when I was 22.
Okay. Did you feel sort of out of place almost being so young, interviewing older people for a job role, or how did you approach that?
Yeah, I knew that I was the best piece of advice. One of the best pieces of advice I've been given is always hire people that are better than you and cleverer than you. And so I knew pretty much everyone I was going to hire was going to have to be older than me, purely because they would have more experience and they would understand things better than me. So it wasn't really a problem because I knew that from the get-go. So it wasn't really an issue.
Amazing. Okay. Grace, it's been great to talk to you today. There's so many useful insights in there. Can you just give a bit of advice to a young person who is starting out? What would be just one thing that you'd say to them?
I would say learn quickly and make as many mistakes as you need, because mistakes aren't actually anything wrong. They're just learning experiences. So just do as much as possible and then reach out and ask people for help. Like the amount of lovely relationships that I have with other business owners and founders now is so nice, and I just learn so much from them every day.
And where can people find you on social media, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever?
So I'm basically under Grace Hardy on every single social media platform, I think.
And you've also got a podcast. So
It's
imagine where can we
called,
find that?
yeah, it's called The Unconventional Podcast, and it's on Spotify and YouTube.
Amazing. Go check it out. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having
Thank you.
me.